The dog had been blocking the front door every morning for 21 days. They had called it a training problem. They had called it territorial behavior. They had called a trainer. They had not yet called anyone who could tell them what was actually wrong with the air near the front of the house. Nero was a 4-year-old black Labrador, 72 pounds, the kind of dog who had been obedience trained to a standard that visitors always remarked on. He sat, stayed, came, heeled, and generally operated with a reliability that made his owners proud and slightly smug about it at dinner parties. He was not a dog who defied clear instruction until September, when he started blocking the front door. The first time, Adaze Okonkwo thought he'd heard something outside. She moved him gently by the collar, opened the front door, saw nothing, closed it. Nero resumed his position in the entryway. The moment she let go of the collar, she called him away. He came. 3 minutes later, he was back. By day 5, her husband Emmanuel had tried every correction technique in the training manual they still had from Nero's puppy class. Nothing changed to Nero's pattern. Every morning between 7:15 and 9 a.m., he positioned himself in the front entryway, body sideways across the threshold, between the entryway and the hallway, leading to the rooms where their 4-year-old daughter, Amara, slept and played. He was not aggressive. He was not barking. He would move when asked and return when released. Adaze had a word for it by day. 8. Obsessive. She said it to Emmanuel over coffee, and Emmanuel agreed, and they agreed they needed professional help. The trainer came on day 12. She observed Nero for an hour, worked through a correction protocol for 2 sessions, left them with homework. Nero completed the homework correctly during sessions. Outside of correction windows, he resumed his position in the entryway. Day 21, Emmanuel came downstairs at 7:30 a.m. and nearly tripped over Nero, who was lying fully across the entryway to the hallway, not sitting at threshold, lying down, as if he had decided if they wouldn't stop walking through the space, he would make it impossible. He looked up at Emmanuel with an expression that had no aggression in it and did not move. Emmanuel stepped over him and decided to actually look at what Nero was apparently so determined to keep everyone away from. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you're in the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. He stood in the front entryway for 30 seconds. He could not smell anything. He could not see anything. He went to the garage and got the carbon monoxide detector they had bought 2 years ago and never installed. He put it on the floor of the entryway and turned it on. It read, 47 parts per million within 90 seconds. Safe limit, 35 parts per million. The furnace exhaust pipe ran along the exterior wall, immediately adjacent to the front entryway. A fitting had partially separated, not enough to produce a smell, not enough to register at the wall height where a standard detector would typically be mounted, but enough to allow exhaust gas to pool at floor level in the entryway. At floor level, at the height, a 4-year-old moves through every morning on the way to breakfast. The HVAC technician who came that afternoon, a man named Robert Tran with 19 years in heating systems, said, at 47 parts per million at floor level, a child spending regular time in that space would accumulate exposure over a period of days. If the fitting had separated further, which it was trending toward, you'd be looking at concentrations where symptoms in a small child would start presenting within an hour of morning exposure. He paused. Something made you check. Good. Has your dog ever done something that made no sense until it was the only thing that made sense? Tell us in the comments. Nero had been detecting the exhaust compound in the entryway air. For 3 weeks, he had placed his body between his family and the contaminated space every morning, during peak pooling hours, when the furnace ran hardest in the cool morning and the gases concentrated at floor level. He had done this with a consistency and specificity that looked, from every human angle, like a training problem to be corrected. They had tried to correct it for 21 days. Nero came and lay in the entryway that evening. After the repair was completed, he inhaled the air once, carefully. Then he got up and went to the living room and lay down with his chin on the rug and closed his eyes. He has not blocked the front door since. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never asked for anything in return. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. Amara calls him her big black shadow. She is not wrong.